Can you guys hear us?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Good.
Hello.
Can you hear me? Oh, yeah.
I know. You want to give him a bone?
Can you hear me, Audrey? Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. All right. How do I get my picture up on there?
You have to join with video, I think, Lizzie.
Oh,
Mine doesn't have video either, and it's never made me join with video. That's okay.
oh, who knows?
At your bottom left, it should say
Start
like next to the mute, there should be a video button.
Yeah, I do not have one today.
No.
First time that's ever happened.
Oh, there you are,
Ooh.
Lizzie.
Oh, there's Lizzie.
Learn a new skill.
Leslie, are you the one that says Sean Rogers?
Nope, there you are.
Okay.
Yeah, you changed something, Audrey, and it brought me in, and then my video was down in the left hand.
Yeah.
I'll change my name. Hold on.
Okay.
I promoted you to a panelist, but I didn't at first because I didn't know who Sean Rogers was.
Oh,
And then I realized, I was like, oh, it's Leslie.
I had to do this the other day when I was on another Zoom call with the opera, and they're like, "Have you changed your name? Are you a pianist now?" Okay, let me see. When we're rehearsing, he sometimes has Zoom meetings, just so we get on and off and rename ourselves. There.
Audrey, should we go ahead and get started, or are you expecting more people?
No, I haven't heard from any. Tom said that he would be late.
Right.
But I haven't heard from Jennifer or Maria, but we still have a quorum, so we can begin.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. I'll call the meeting to order. Well, thank you all for coming to the February meeting. First of all, I'm going to read the mission statement, which is to develop, advance, and nurture all facets of the arts to enhance the quality of life in Meridian, for Meridian art residents and visitors. So let's go ahead and do the roll call. Lizzie?
Here.
Jessica?
Here.
Natalie?
Here.
I'm here. Leslie? Maria? Jennifer? Tom? Rhea?
Here.
Joe? Okay, our first action item is for the adoption of the agenda.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I. That just struck me funny. I move we adopt the agenda.
Second.
Thank you. The agenda has been, and all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda has been adopted. And now let's do the approval for the minutes from the January 14th meeting. Can I have a motion to approve those?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the minutes for the last meeting in January.
Thank you, Leslie. Second by
Second.
the meeting. Minutes have been approved and seconded. May we have a consensus to that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The minutes have been approved from January 14th. Number 2 on the is the approval of the monthly financial statement. Has everybody had a chance to take a look at that? It was attached.
Mhm.
If it's acceptable, then can I have a motion to accept that?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the budget.
In a second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Financial statement then is therefore approved. And number 3 on the agenda is the reports from the subcommittees. The first one is Audrey. Can you give us an update on the Idaho Commission of the Arts grant funding application?
Madam Chair, you and the commission might remember that in our December or January meeting, we discussed the grant funding that we received from Idaho Commission on the Arts. There was a discussion about using it to do a community choir. I reached out to the Chamber of Commerce. They did a holiday community choir, and to see how their process was and what it was like for them. After having a long conversation with Sean Evans, he described to me many of the struggles that the Chamber of Commerce had in doing the community choir. It's kind of a very specialized project. And so he described that while they made it work, it was definitely an uphill battle to get there. And so receiving that information from Sean, I felt it was best to use the funding for the traffic boxes and move forward with that project. So currently working with our finance department to reallocate those funds to our traffic boxes. It was approved also by the Idaho Commission on the Arts.
Okay, thank you. So Audrey, do we need to approve that then as a commission?
No, in our last, Madam Chair, in our last meeting, the motion for that was already approved was to give me authority to make that change if necessary. So this is just my report back. I don't think it needs another action item.
So number 4 is an update, the Public Arts Subcommittee. Jessica?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So our last meeting was January 19th, and we covered a couple of different things. So the primary discussion was about the 10-mile trailhead request for proposal. So there are a couple different ways that we select the artwork for our public art projects. One of them is to put out an RFQ, which is a request for qualifications, and that asks artists to submit examples of their work and resume and things like that. And then the artists that we select, we would work with them on the concept for the art. That's how we handled our mural project. But for the 10 Mile Trailhead, this is part of, kind of fits in with our parks identity program. Even though the trailheads are a little bit different, they're still kind of within that niche. And we actually have I forget what we call it, but basically a couple of years ago, we created sort of an approval list of a number of artists who we had seen their work and felt confident that they would be able to produce pieces that would work in our parks. And so that's who we're working with here. So we've got a number of artists who we've already agreed that we may want to work with, and we are going to put out a request for proposal. So this is where we're actually asking the artists to submit a proposal based on the description of the project or the idea that we have in mind. So this is for the 10 Mile Trailhead. This is what we're using our MAPS funding for in this fiscal year. And the trailhead will go at the corner of 10 Mile and Ustick. There's a bunch of construction happening there. And eventually there will be a parking lot, and there's a trailhead that goes through Meridian, like a bike trail. And so we're going to be putting some artwork there as well. We have some ideas for this. So Audrey put together the RFP that we're going to put out. And it sounds like the Pathways folks are doing kind of a branding project, or they had done a branding project. That's going to wrap up in March. So although we're hoping to get started on this project, we're not going to release the RFP until after that branding project is complete, so that we can include those images in our RFP, and it can be a part of that whole, the whole trailhead system imagery. But I think we have an action item later on in this meeting to approve the, oh no, not, I'm wrong. That's something else. Sorry. So, so we discussed that RFP, and I believe that once the subcommittee votes on that and approves it, then it'll come to the whole commission for approval. So stay tuned for that. I guess that'll probably happen at our next meeting, I would expect. Is that right, Audrey?
Yes, the goal is to have the commission approve this RFP in the March commission meeting.
Great. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, March felt so far away until I realized it was already almost the middle of February. So
Right. Great.
kidding, not that far. Okay, so we're still working toward developing a public art plan. And I think, as we've mentioned before, Tom is going to be facilitating a meeting that we set for February 27th. So the subcommittee is going to be getting together then, and Tom's going to help us work our way through our goals and our ideas, and help us really get on the way toward producing that public art plan. We're hoping to get it put together this spring and get it out there, and then we can, have a complete plan that we can use for our future public art projects, and we can start focusing our attention on some other of those actual projects. And then I shared some ideas for winter placemaking ideas, and there's an idea sort of in the planning community, but public art can really contribute to this idea of really creating spaces in a city or in a place where people that are memorable, where people want to spend time. So that could be, the village is kind of one of those places that's very memorable with the fountains. And so, just starting to talk about the ways that we can think about using public art to do some placemaking throughout Meridian. And then we voted on the traffic box repository. So every 2 years, we put together a list this was a request for proposals for the repository. So we keep a collection of art that has been selected. every 2 years, and we use those pieces to, we select from that repository for our traffic boxes every year. So we do refresh that repository every couple years, and the request for proposals is pretty much all the same. It's the same every year, just kind of changing the dates. And that is what we are going to vote on as a whole commission later on in this meeting. So we'll have that repository, and then it sounds like we'll have even more funding for traffic boxes this year, which is great, because I think we're getting to the point where some of those first traffic boxes that were wrapped are going to need some refreshing or switching out. And then we still have more traffic boxes that have not been covered to begin with. So excited to be putting some more art around Meridian.
Great. Audrey, in regards to the traffic boxes, the honorarium that the artists get, I think is $300. Is that right?
That is correct.
Is that in line with what other communities close to us are giving for honorariums?
Madam Chair, that's an excellent question. There's actually, I don't know about the majority of other cities. I did notice that the city of Boise just released their RFP for traffic boxes, and their process is a little different than ours. They do an RFP every year instead of having a repository like us, and they offer, I believe it was $1,000 per box. So
there's more work that goes into, I know from the artist standpoint, I'm pretty sure for those, their program too. But I wonder if you've checked like with Eagle and I don't know about Napa and Caldwell, if they're doing that as well.
Madam Chair, it's an excellent question. I don't know, but we can certainly look into it.
Okay.
I'm going to look, when we get to the call to artists, I'll check and make sure it does specify in the RFP that the artist will get $300. So if we approve that RFP today, that repository will keep the $300 stipend. If we want to increase that amount, we would have to I would recommend that we change that number in the RFP before we release it.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Jessica. Did you have anything else to add? Okay.
Nope, I think I'm good. Thank you.
The number 5 is the update from the Events and Outreach Subcommittee.
Maria and I are kind of in transition. I'm the new chair. She was the chair when we actually had this meeting, but I can give it if you want me to, Maria, or I can't hear you. Is that okay? Just chime in.
That's totally fine. Thank you.
Okay. Just chime in anytime. You know that the Events and Outreach Subcommittee is still dealing with the on the fence time with COVID. We're planning, we're hoping to be able to have art week certainly in September, back to having more to being safer, but we still don't know. So but we are still continuing to plan for a lot of different activities. And the cool thing about it is that Audrey told us last time that Parks and Rec is really on board, and they are going to join us. The neighborhood block party is going to transition into the Parks and Rec doing part of Art Week with us, which is amazing. And so basically we will handle the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and they will handle all the Saturday morning, and I'm sure we'll cross over a little bit here and there, but Saturday morning. And then once the concert happens, obviously we'll be doing the concert. But it's really, really exciting collaboration. And we talked a lot about having something kind of like Burning Man, larger scale statues. We talked about a lot of ideas to kind of up the ante a little bit. We talked about performers, and we've had performers in the past, but it kind of sometimes worked, sometimes didn't. We had a solo guitarist one year, a young man that was just wonderful in Generations Plaza. But it's been kind of hit and miss on whether or not we had music. So we talked a little bit more about having, some music, different places. We're going to do have Kleiner Park and downtown both be involved. We talked about even a tramming system back and forth in between the two venues so that people get an idea of the pipeline of entertainment kind of in the Treasure Valley, so that they don't think they can only, Meridian's so small, you can do Kleiner Park in the morning, do a bunch of awesome stuff there, take the tram. And then we also talked about the possibility of having the tram take it kind of on an art drive. So if you start out in Kleiner Park, say on Saturday morning, you see what, we'll have a presence over there, a booth or something, but the Parks and Rec will be handling it, which is awesome. We'll be helping. Then people get on the tram and they can leave once every half an hour or whatever. And we drive them by the major public art, like the Wheatgrass and the Under the Sky and Dreaming. We drive them past the existing current art installations and maybe even include some parks. Renaissance is, I love to include that because I love that statue. But keep it mostly, in the downtown corridor with the two, and then drop them off for the concert or for dinner. So we're trying to talk about a more umbrella creative design concept for the entire week. I'm working with Parks and Rec. We also thought about a live art demonstration of one of our murals that will be put in downtown, where we might have it be, I was doing an opera and I can't remember where I was. I think it might have been, doesn't matter. But there was a mural going up on one of the big side buildings, and I was hired to go and be part of the entertainment. That was the opera company, the jazz. I was saying jazz that night, but they had this big event, and it was all this live artist doing, and they had drinks. They had a couple of food trucks. It was really cool because people were involved in the process of watching the art go up. And so, these are big dreams because of timing, because of COVID. But just it's such a successful week, and so we were talking a lot about a passport style public art scavenger hunt, which I think would be super fun, and especially since we have so many takers for Art Week, the art drop. I think that's a kind of natural transition to try to add something with the scavenger hunt that has to do with seeking out and finding, because that's kind of been cool. So anyway. Disclaimer, all of these ideas are dependent upon where we are with the virus. So we're going forward with hope. And we also have talked about some virtual, like Bob, help me out here, Lizzie, who's the guy that does the trees? What a beautiful tree.
Bob Ross.
Bob Ross, yes. Like having some, Bonnie's losing it. You wish you had that idea, right?
Please do that.
Those are the things that I notice. I'm so sorry. But we thought about, having some virtual classes that had that kind of not a feel, but anyway, he was brought up and I knew that would get a good laugh. So the kind of going more virtual with things and people love him. They find it very meditative, and he can make you feel good about yourself, even if you are not a good artist. He's just like, so it's more of a meditation than it is an art class, but something like that. And what else did we talk about? Live art demonstration. Anyway, that's pretty much it. The chalk art competition is definitely going to still be going on because last year we did it digitally and it was really successful. So we can do that either way. As far as an update on the carolers' costumes coming up, following through with this creative direction of a feeling of cohesion and a look for the city of Meridian with the holidays. I got, unfortunately, the person who makes these costumes tore her ACL skiing. So she had surgery. She's on the mend. But she said that the costumes usually cost around $300 each. The range it would give it due to builder's fees, which would be between $300 and $400. So there's a way to make them for less, $250 minimum. But what I found is that in Los Angeles, in New York, in places that are theater towns, You can usually find someone who's needing work and needs something for their resume, who's really good, who's gone to fit them. Or here we're in a regional environment, and I find that you kind of get what you pay for a little bit as far as these things go. I would suggest that if we decide to do this, we find a way to put the money into it the first time so that we don't have to do it again and have it cost more. So that they last, so that they're alterable, so that they launder well and store easily. So that's it.
And Leslie, when is is Art Week still the week following
Yes.
or Labor Day?
Yes. Same week.
Thank
And the
you.
concert series, you know, we're still, oh, that's the other thing. We're thinking about one of the concert series being, we even talked more about this during the diversity subcommittee meeting yesterday, having to do with another thing, but we talked about getting the young hired, the Basque dancers, and maybe some, you know, get some different things for one of the shows, have it be kind of a variety cultural show. It'll be cheaper to produce from the artistic perspective, but we might, the surfaces for the dancers, we might have to bring in a stage for that, which, you know, is doable. So anyway, that might not happen anyway, so.
We hope
That's
so.
it.
What happens?
Yeah. Maria, can you think of anything I missed?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, based on our meeting notes, I did see that Tom did talk about a little bit about Creative Integrity, which is a production company that pretty much does events, right? They plan the events soup to nuts. And
Yeah.
and it was, I think the subcommittee did, I think, decide that we were just interested in hearing his ideas and what he plans to put in the table. I think that's what I have on the meeting notes here.
And I think he's joining us today in our subcommittee.
Yep.
So we'll be able to get, yeah, thank you, Maria. Because that's huge. I mean, being able to outsource. And they're
Correct.
good. I've worked with them a couple of times here, just when not as a producer, but just they were in charge of an event I was singing at. And it was good.
Yeah, so excited to hear what kind of their ideas are. And it's not anything specific, you know, it's not set in stone. It's just to hear pretty much their demo.
Kind of a meet and greet.
Yeah, and a meet and greet.
Yeah. Thanks, Maria.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Madam Chair. That is it.
Thanks so much. The next is the Arts Diversity Subcommittee report. Tom, I don't see on our list of people. I don't think he's joined us yet. Audrey, do you have anything to report?
Madam Chair, I think we need to do the initial point gallery subcommittee.
Oh, I'm
then we can do the diversity.
okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. Natalie, do you want to do the subcommittee for the initial point, please?
Sure. Madam Chair, we had a fairly quick meeting. We are obviously impacted by COVID, so our gallery is still closed as City Hall is closed to the public. So we did have to cancel our February installation with Bosco. We are moving online a little bit. We're hoping to highlight a few of their artists on our Facebook page and on social media. Audrey's working to get some profiles up so people can still see their art, even though they can't come see it in person. As far as March and April, we are still up in the air for those as well. It just depends on what happens with City Hall. So March is the TVAA show, I believe. And so if they are canceled as well, we're going to try and do a virtual show. We discussed some sort of slideshow that we can put up on the Facebook page and perhaps mention it in the city newsletter. So we're working on trying to pivot a little bit since we can't have people in person at this point. So we also talked about, we had some space in August that we needed to fill. We looked over some art by Lori Boers, who is an encaustic artist, and we did vote to invite her to come for a quarter of the gallery. So I think, are we waiting to hear back, or have we heard back from her, Audrey?
Madam Chair and Commissioners, she has accepted the space in August, and I put her acceptance agreement on City Council agenda for not this upcoming City Council meeting, but the next.
Oh, great.
So we should be good to go there.
Awesome. We also have talked about the Great American Paint-In, which was a virtual show, I guess you could say. And they were also doing some traveling exhibits where basically we would have a TV set up, and then we could show some of their artists. So if we can get coordinated with them, we will have them this summer as well, just depending on if they get back to us or not. And then we're just kind of in a holding pattern. I think we're gonna have to wait till March for our next meeting, just because the gallery is closed for the rest of February at least. So we will meet back in March and see where we can go from there to hopefully get some people seeing some art in person. So that was it, unless anyone has any questions.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, I believe we decided that we would let TVAA know on the Monday, the 15th of February, as to whether TVAA would be able to hang its show, which would be done on the 5th of March. It's going to be a gorgeous show. We find out tomorrow as artists if we are accepted in it, but it has a blue theme, and it would be just gorgeous. So we really need to keep that strong interface with TVAA, because they love exhibiting at Initial Point, and the last color show that they had last year, which was themed with a red theme, was the best attended opening of any Initial Point gallery show, like ever. It was wonderful. So just, we need to do that. Would Audrey do that? Who would notify TVAA?
Madam Chair, I would notify, I am in communication with Jessie, the president of TVAA, and I told her we would let them know on the 16th because Monday is a holiday, so I won't be in the office.
Okay, my bad. Thank you.
But yes, we should have some feedback on whether City Hall will be open or closed at the beginning of March by next Tuesday. So I'll be able to let them know if we'll be able to have an installation or not by that point.
Audrey, could you let the rest of us know as well?
Yes, certainly.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Natalie.
You're welcome.
Next is the update on the Arts Diversity Subcommittee meeting. I don't know that Tom has joined. I don't believe he has. Can you give us an update, Audrey?
Madam Chair, I was not at the meeting that was yesterday evening, but Natalie, Jessica, and Leslie were there, so they can update.
I can start out and just kick it around. We most of our conversation was, Madam Chair, was about it was conceptual, talking about the goals, how to use the correct vocabulary surrounding it. We decided to come up. We have a new name for the subcommittee, which, yeah. Do you want to tell him? You tell him, Jessica.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay. So we were pretty excited about it, as you can tell, because we thought about diversity. Diversity is a good word, but words like that age out quickly when they're used for a specific thing. And so in order to refresh it and to avoid some of the caveats of having a less than diverse group of people talking to diversity, we decided to work on the vocabulary very specifically and craft a new name for the subcommittee that would be more specific to Meridian. And it is, drum roll, Arts Inclusivity Meridian, with the acronym AIM. And we're working on, Tom just is going crazy with graphics, and he's awesome. But But so we took us a while to get to that point, and we also have a lot of other words that we didn't include that we're going to include in possibly a short statement about the purpose of the subcommittee to make it more specific. And then we talked about this is where the events and AIM kind of crossed paths when we talked about possibly bringing to the table some of the more culturally identified groups to one of the concerts, talking to Eppies and seeing if they would be willing to bring some fast food down the block, or trying to reach out, baby steps that way. And also talking about the importance of input, both national, regional, and local. So local, inviting people to tell us, how can we serve you? You know, do you feel served by the Meridian Arts Commission? Well, I'm not asking, like we had a lengthy discussion. We are not asking them to solve our deficiencies. We're asking them to tell us how we can serve them better and what are we missing. Does that make sense? Then yeah. So Jessica, Natalie, do you guys have anything more?
Go ahead, Jessica.
I'm sure that's all for me.
Madam Chair, I think the other thing that we talked about is we're starting to talk about bringing in a professional who works in the diversity, equity, and inclusion field to help us kind of navigate this. And there's a lot to unpack and a lot to think about how we move forward. So we had talked about reaching out. So there's a group called Idaho Empathy Network that's led by Michael Armand, and he provides trainings, but they're not art focused. So we're looking for someone who can be more arts focused when it comes to this area. So we're going to reach out to him and see if he can recommend someone locally who works in the arts and works on this idea of equity and inclusion in the arts specifically, to bring to our committee or possibly to bring to the whole commission, and do some training and have some conversations about, kind of as Leslie mentioned, what do we see that we are falling back on? What do we need to improve on? And how do we go about addressing this really important issue? So stay tuned for that. I think part of the challenge is identifying someone who fits in with our funding, although there may be some opportunities for some grants if possible. So we're gonna see who's available in the area and see how that matches up with our funding and figure out what we need to do to make those things work together. So I think that's one other thing that we discussed. And
can I chime in just one more time, Madam Chair?
Sure.
Jessica, remember we talked also about the fact that, you know, turning the paradigm on its head. Right now we look at diversity and culturalism in the arts as a problem to solve, as opposed to an advantage to utilize. And reaching out into an ecosystem of the arts that also has been proven to help businesses, help sustainable growth. So we kind of talked about that too, a healthy ecosystem of arts, which, yeah. So anyway, that's it. I just thought about that.
I wonder if somebody that might be worth contacting would be Karen Bubb from the city of Boise.
And Cherie Buckner Webb,
She
singer, and has worked on arts legislation, what little there's been. Karen Bubb.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Thanks, Leslie. Next is new business. Number 8 on the agenda is the approve of the call to artists for the new traffic box artwork repository.
I read it. It looks great. I will move to approve.
Do we have a second?
Madam Chair and Commissioners, before a second, pardon me if I'm off base here, but isn't this the one where we were supposed to talk about the different potentially higher stipend or what we pay these people, the honorarium?
I think what Audrey had said was if we do want to change that, then it has to be done before
Yeah,
it goes out. So is there any discussion or any interest in changing that, or does everybody want to leave that at the 300 for this go around?
Madam Chair and Commissioners, I suggest that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Leave it where it is.
I agree, especially since we're right up, I mean, Madam Chair and Commissioners, especially since we're kind of up to, we need to get it done.
Yeah.
This might be a discussion for another agenda further away from, but I agree, if this has been successful thus far, keeping it this way this year and then maybe discussing for next year, bumping it up to, yeah.
Okay, so Leslie made a
Madam
motion.
Chair,
I'm sorry.
Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
I would be curious to hear from Emily. Emily, if we release this RFP that states in the overview that a $300 stipend will be available for artists who are selected out of the repository. This is kind of like a pre-selection to be in the repository. Since it's just part of the overview, is that a flexible number where we could, in the actual agreement that is signed with artists, we could increase that number if we feel we can, or it's appropriate to increase that number? Or do we need to stick to that $300 limit since it's in our call to artists?
Madam Chair, Audrey, it's best to stick to that, to what's in the RFP, partly just for consistency so that we're not offering a different amount to different artists, and partly because there's a situation where if it's $500, someone might say, well, I would have bid on that. I couldn't justify 300, but 500 is worth my time. Or I don't know if that's maybe not a bigger difference to make my point, but you understand what I'm saying. So the risk really is in having different agreements with different artists, and then that can only lead to bad things. So I would recommend that the decision be made at the RFP stage and the offer, well, it's not an offer, but that the playing field is level and consistent from the beginning.
Good point.
Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
So with that, when I think about this number, I considered it as I was looking at the call to artists. I don't know where Meridian stands, where we are on the scale of how much we pay our artists. I don't think that there will be a lack of applicants or artists there will be plenty of artists who are willing and happy to accept $300.
Yeah.
But if the subcommittee wants to support local artists more by increasing this stipend, I do think it's an option. It just is a discussion on how much we want to spend on traffic boxes each year and things like that. So it's not a bad idea to continue this discussion, and we are capable of increasing that. If we want to, it would mean less for our other public art installations, but we can be flexible on that. And the time would be now if we want to either postpone the release of this RFP by 1 month and continue this discussion next month with research in hand of knowing where we compare to other cities, or we can just go ahead and keep it at $300.
My suggestion, Madam
Madam
Chair
Chair.
and Commissioners, still remains keep it at $300. We got enough stuff going.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, I agree with that, although conceptually, I think that being at relative market value is something that we need to work towards in order to look at the arts as a career as opposed to a hobby.
Right.
In this area, it's kind of a consistent thing, and with the growth that's happening right now, and I don't know how traffic box art, because I'm not a visual artist, I don't know how that fits into this concept. But I did make the motion. I do think that if we can pay artists more, if it's supported by a market, it's a discussion to have. I'm kind of on the fence as to whether, I think there's value to both arguments. I do think it needs to be revisited, but how timely is this? How would it put us behind anything if we took some time to do a little research? Thank
Madam
you.
Chair and Commissioners, it wouldn't put us that much behind our schedule if we wait to discuss this with more research next month. I was anticipating really releasing this to the public around the 1st of March, so to delay it by another 2 weeks wouldn't put us behind schedule too much. We have the flexibility to contact a couple extra cities, see where we are on the range of the market value, like Leslie said, and then discuss again next month.
So Audrey, will you take that back then? If you do some research, or whoever does the research on this, will you take it back then to the subcommittee, and they will then make the recommendation, and we'll just have the proposed change or no change at the following meeting?
Madam Chair, I would come directly back to the whole commission. The Public Arts Subcommittee is meeting next Tuesday, which is a little too late to have that information ready for them. So I would bring back a recommendation number, price to the commission at our next March meeting.
Hi,
Okay.
Madam Chair, I'm going to rescind my motion, and I will not make a motion because I made the first one, and so I rescind my motion to allow the other commissioners to chime in.
Good.
I'm on the fence.
Madam Chair, I just would like to make one point. When we were looking at the materials that artists had submitted in their applications for the mural project, there were a number of artists who already have traffic boxes in Boise or Nampa, I think, or other areas in the Treasure Valley, who I don't believe have ever applied to our traffic box program. So the stipend could be a reason for that. I think we do tend to get, a lot of applications for the repository, but it would be great to be drawing in some other artists who might not apply at the $300 level, but might at, $500, $600, or I mean, I don't know that I'd want to go above that because of our budget, but those are folks that we're hoping to continue to engage, and we hadn't received any applications for them for previous projects. So if we want to keep them engaged, at a higher level, trying to draw them in with also reaching out to them and developing those relationships, but also making sure that our funding is comparable to other cities, I think is fair.
Yeah, thanks for that comment, Jessica. I think I agree with that. And so this item then will be tabled until the following meeting, or? So we don't have to take any other action on that, right, Audrey?
Madam Chair, that is correct. We'll
Okay.
return to it next meeting.
So number 9 is a review of the allocation of arts development funding.
Yes, Madam Chair. I requested this agenda item because of my participation and listening into our different subcommittee meetings. I know that several subcommittees are talking about projects that will require funding. And in consulting with our budget, we have a $2,000 budget line called arts development. That is our essential flexible spending, that if we decide to do additional projects to include in other, if we're starting new projects, this is our flexible spending that we can use for that. The two projects that I have in mind is the Events and Outreach Subcommittee. They're participating in other city events, including the Dickens Singers costumes, and the Arts Inclusivity Meridian Subcommittee, which has talked about bringing in a inclusivity equity consultant. Those things will require funding, and this $2,000 budget line is where that funding will be pulled from. So I would like to hear the commission's weigh in. As I've been managing these projects, I would prefer to have weigh in from the commission on how that money should be spent before we really go down these avenues of spending, and get some feedback of priorities and how the commission would like to split the funding for these projects.
Madam Chair, Audrey, I think that the matching funds grants from the Idaho Arts Commission could give us more money here through the quick grants. I think would work for either one of these things. So maybe we could look at expanding that a little bit. And I don't think we haven't really gotten any quotes from what a consultant would be for AIM, the AIM subcommittee yet. We just started down that process. So we don't really have any solid numbers to offer you as to what percentage of that money we might need to utilize for consultants. Maybe Tom's got more information on that today, but we might have a little bit more information after we meet with Creative Integrity. They might have some suggestions, but we don't really have the numbers to be, other than the costume numbers. I don't have anything to add that could be solid there from AIM on those numbers.
I think that's valid, Leslie. I think we need to find out what some of these hard costs are for consultants and things before we can allocate where funds are going to go. Does anybody else have any input?
I agree that we ought to know how much it's going to cost before we start throwing money at it.
Yeah.
Not throwing, but gently placing.
Madam Chair, I agree. I agree. So from what I'm hearing is whatever projects come up first will receive the funding that they need. So we'll just be mindful of that as we continue with our projects, that our funding is limited, and so whatever projects come up first will receive the priority. That's what I'm hearing from the commission.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, this is Tom.
Hi, Tom.
My apologies, my sincere apologies to the commission, and for being on the phone. I was exploring the AIM, the aspect that Audrey and Jessica mentioned about AIM, the inclusivity consultant. I was thinking about it. I've been doing some exploration, and I would look to Audrey, or can you guide us? Is there an opportunity to partner with other city agencies? Is this something that we can do on a broader scale, and then that would inform us, and then there's efficiency of cost and efficiency of scale?
Madam Chair, we can certainly look into that option. I'm not sure what the other cities are, what their efforts have been in regards to inclusivity, if they're interested in that kind of thing. So we can definitely network and see see the broader spectrum of our valley and see what other cities are doing and if they want to partner with us in some sort of consultation or training.
Great, thank you.
Madam Chair, actually, Tom, I have a question. Were you talking about partnering with the city of Meridian and the city agencies, or with other city arts groups?
Hi, Jessica. Yeah, I was thinking other agencies within the city of Meridian. If there's opportunity to really expand as we've been discussing in AIM, are there opportunities for us to get other agencies exposed to inclusivity and equity? And maybe there's a broader umbrella here that we could embrace within the city of Meridian.
That is
Good
good
idea.
feedback. Yes, Madam Chair, that's good feedback. Things we can look into.
Great. Thank you, Tom. Any other discussion on that subject matter? If not, number 10 on the agenda is the proposal of the special meeting on February 27th, the Public Art Plan Workshop.
Yes, Madam Chair, after speaking with Emily and several members of the commission, the Public Art Subcommittee was planning on doing a workshop to create or generate a public art plan. And there are, as you know, the subcommittees need to be less than 5 commissioners to avoid a commission quorum in the subcommittees. However, there have been multiple commissioners state their interest in attending that. And in order to just avoid any complications, we're suggesting that the public art plan workshop on February 27th becomes a special meeting, a special commission meeting, so that all commissioners who are interested can attend. With that, it would also require at least 5 commissioners attend, but with the commissioners who have expressed interest, we should reach that.
And that the time of that was 10 to 2 or 10 to 3, is that right?
10 to 3
Okay.
p.m. on February 27th.
Okay, I think that's great. I think that's super. Thank you so much. Next, if there's nothing else, the next meeting is scheduled for the 11th of March. And I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, I move that this meeting be adjourned.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
All opposed? We are officially adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Thanks. Bye.